Hi everyone, welcome back. Wow, can you believe it? We are here. We are on our 12th and final week of the Rustic Remedy program. Once we move through this week, you will have all 12 tools in your toolbox to help you stay the course, to keep you on track, to keep you moving towards your goal. And really we'll be at the end of our first phase of putting this program into action, right? This is sort of the initial learning phase, and this is the final tool that you're going to learn about. Before we jump into this final tool, though, of meal planning, which just might be one of my more favorite tools, I want to take a moment to review how your last week went on sleep. So first, what were your tasks for sleep? Your first goal was to revisit your time map. If you hadn't been looking at that at all over the last 11 weeks, it was to pull that out, take a look at it, and actually set a sleep schedule for yourself if you don't already have one. So making sure that you're going to bed at a certain time, getting up at a certain time, and essentially blocking out enough time each night to be getting enough sleep. Your second task was to then kind of assess your sleeping environment and change what you could change, or at least take note of areas that might need to be addressed to help you optimize your sleeping environment. Some of the more troublesome areas could be like the temperature of the room, or the light, or noise factor, right? Or even just the comfort of your bed or your pillows. So just kind of trying to take an assessment of that and changing what you can change, plus adding in a relaxing bedtime routine, at least 30 minutes or more before you plan to get into bed, to help your body and your mind transition into sleep mode, and hopefully helping you sort of set yourself up for better sleep. Your final task was to just map that out and track how you did. So I hope that those were helpful tools. I hope you actually got some good night's sleep last week. If sleep is really an issue for you, I definitely encourage you to continue to play with this tool. Continue to massage your routine, massage your environment, try to really optimize it as best you can, and know that it will take some time for your body to shift into this new rhythm. You want to give it at least a month or so to allow your body to get used to the rhythm and see how that works for you. I think kind of like with everything in life, the more consistent you are with your sleep routine, the better your results will be. So stick with it, okay? The other thing I talked about last week is I walked you through how to start testing food. So if you were working on your elimination diet and bringing some foods back in again, we talked about how to do that in a way where you could actually test if you were having any reactions to those foods. So you should have completed your first food test and have the results of that by now. And I hope that it was enlightening for you and you're ready to move on to your second food group to test this week. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our final tool, which is all about meal planning. How true is this quote, right? I can't remember where I first heard this or who it came from, so I couldn't give honor to who initially said this, but there's just so much truth behind this. I think with many aspects of our life, but particularly with healthy eating, despite all of our best intentions, if we don't actually plan out our food for the week, get to the store, make sure we have the healthy food on hand, right? Stocked in our kitchen, it's just so much harder to make it happen. So that's really what this week's tool is about, is how do we set up a meal planning system that's easy, that's simple, that's sustainable, that's going to work for you, so that you can take everything you've learned in these last 12 weeks and keep doing it, right? Besides, I would say the time map and meal planning are probably your two most essential tools for keeping you on track, for keeping you moving forward towards your goal, and really for even helping you maintain your goal once you reach it. So you certainly want to keep those two tools front and center as we move into the second phase of the program, which is sort of beyond these initial 12 weeks, and to keep all of these habits in play. So today what I want to do, now, hopefully most of you are already meal planning. I think throughout this program, if you weren't at the beginning of the program, you probably are now, which is great. And if you have a system that's working really well for you, then by all means, keep doing that system. There's no one right way to meal plan. What I wanted to show you today and to talk about today are the tools that I use for my meal planning. And if you are struggling at all with meal planning, then hopefully this will be sort of inspiring and helpful to give you some new ideas of how you can approach it in hopefully a way that's going to work better for you. Okay? So let's go ahead and jump in to what your tasks are going to be for this week. So your first task this week is to actually just sit down with pen and paper in hand and make a list of what are already your favorite go-to meals, meals that you and your family already love. And we're going to start with those, right? We're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to start with the meals that already work really well for you. And I would encourage you to categorize them by protein. So, maybe make a list of all your chicken dishes and all your vegetarian dishes and all your fish dishes and your meat dishes, so you kind of separate them by protein. That way you know which proteins do you already have a lot of options for, and you maybe don't need some new ideas yet for that list. And what lists do you not have as many options for? And maybe that's where we start experimenting with some new recipes. So you're taking an inventory of what you're already working with, okay? Then your second task is to actually start collecting new ideas. So you're going to dust off those cookbooks, or you're going to get online and you're going to start collecting some ideas, some new recipes that you want to try. In the book, I share a list of some of my favorite websites that I go to for recipe ideas. I also really try to collect my most favorite meals and share with you guys through Facebook or through the Rustic Dietitian website, so that I'm always trying to throw out new ideas to people, because let's be honest, eventually we get bored, right? If we eat the same thing all the time, just like if we're doing the same thing all the time, we tend to get bored. So we do need to have a plan in place to mix it up. And perhaps you're already bored with your go-tos. And in that case, you might need even more new ideas to get started with. What I'd like you to commit to is, out of those new ideas that you collect, is to commit to trying at least 2 new recipes every month. I mean, if you're super inspired and you want to try 1 new recipe a week, go for it. But I know that's not always realistic. So if you can commit to at least 2 a month, the ones that are a success, add them into your list of favorites, add them into your repertoire. Over time, that list is going to grow pretty hefty, and you're going to have a lot of great ideas to go to each week. So that's sort of how I collect my meal ideas, right? And then what we have to do is we have to take those ideas and put them into a plan for the week. So that's your third task, is you're actually going to do that this week. If you're not already, you're going to plan out your week. But my task for you is that you keep it simple. Okay, there's absolutely no reason your meals need to be complex or super involved or crazy. Okay, you really want to keep it simple. So this is how I keep it simple. And if you like this, you can do it too. For breakfasts, I generally rotate. For my family, we rotate through 3 different breakfasts, and that's it. We just, every day we do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then maybe on the weekends, we'll throw in something special like pancakes or French toast or something like that. Now, if you're also planning in several mornings where you're fasting, then those are, even 2 or 3 more mornings where you don't have to worry about breakfast. You just have to get your fluids in. So keep breakfast simple. That way you don't have to think too much about it. Lunch, I do the same thing. We either have leftovers, or I have just a couple of easy go-to lunches that I can rotate through. So again, I don't have to spend a lot of energy thinking about lunch, but I am planning it, right? I'm not going to skip lunch. I'm not going to leave it up to sort of free whim of what I'm going to eat for lunch. I have thought it through so that I make sure I have something planned for lunch, right? And then dinner is where I do most of the experimenting. And dinner is where I really kind of dedicate each day to a different protein. And we talked about that in the section on protein. So dinner is kind of where you're going to put together all the pieces that you've learned in this program and really think through what are some healthy, balanced meals that you can plan out for the week, and dedicate each night to a different protein. Some plant-based proteins and some animal-based proteins if you're not vegetarian. So I tend to do like Mondays tend to be a vegetarian dish for us. And then Tuesdays is maybe some kind of a poultry like chicken or turkey. And then, maybe Wednesdays or Thursdays, depending on which day I go to the store, might be a fish day. And then I'll do another vegetarian, so I kind of have it planned out, and I don't really falter from that too much week to week. So I'm trying to keep it simple so I don't have to like reinvent the wheel every week. I have a basic template, a basic formula that I follow, and I just rotate through what meals I'm going to do week to week, right? So I have my list of chicken recipes, and I'll rotate through them on chicken night, all my fish recipes, etc., right? So I'm not getting bored, but I'm also not reinventing the wheel. The other thing I would suggest is whenever possible, either double the amount you're cooking or make extra so that you can actually put it in the freezer so that you always have healthy backups. Because let's face it, even the best planned out week, right? Even your best intentions, something could come up. Something comes up where you thought you were going to be home and be able to cook and then you weren't, right? So that happens to all of us, and you don't want to be stuck with, we're going to have to go through the drive-through, or we're going to have to do fast food or go out to eat because I wasn't able to get home and cook. You want to have some healthy backups, and that's where you really go to your freezer and you go to your pantry for some of those ideas, some of those staples. So for example, whenever I make a soup or a stock, I always try to freeze some. So I have at least, a serving in the freezer as a backup. Or if I make a quiche, I'll make a second quiche and I'll put that in the freezer. So think of ways where you can add in an extra portion that you can put in the freezer basically for a rainy day, for a backup day. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you. All right, then we are going to actually put that into a plan. In your book, I give you a sample meal plan of some actual meals that me and my family eat. And then I also give you a blank plan, which I have shown here on the slide for you to play with. Again, if you already have a system that works for you, please use it. But if you don't, this is one option of what you can use. So essentially, you're going to write out your plan for the week in one place, right? And then you're going to make your grocery list. You're going to make sure you're buying everything you need to make all those meals to get through the week. Plus, you want to make sure that you're buying some healthy snacks so that you always have healthy options at home when you need something a little extra, when your kids need a snack after school. And I give you some ideas there in the book. You also want to make sure you have some pantry basics, right? So that, again, if your plan gets off for some reason, you have another option to go to. Let me just think through here. Some of the backups that I always keep on hand would be like scrambled eggs and some sauteed greens, or a salad would be a backup for us. I also always have, some whole wheat pasta or gluten-free pasta on hand that we can always throw together with some pesto sauce, or maybe a tomato sauce that I might throw in some ground up turkey meat that I keep in the freezer, right? So that's always a healthy backup. Again, you could even have some frozen vegetables on hand, some frozen spinach or some frozen broccoli. So for that kind of a night, for example, and let's say you don't even have any produce because you haven't been to the store, you can go to your freezer, you can you can whip up that pasta dish and throw in some frozen broccoli or some frozen spinach. So I want you to have some of those kind of backups too, because it's important to plan out your week, yes, but it's also important to have backups because we know how life can get, right? And I don't want you to be stuck going out to eat or going to fast food. And let me just say, this doesn't mean you can't ever go out to eat. Certainly plan in those nights too. I just don't want it to be the backup plan. Because if it's the backup plan, then we end up going out way too much, right? So hopefully that makes sense to you. Then you're going to get to the store. And honestly, this needs to be on your time map, right? You need to map out time every week for you to plan out your meals and to get to the store at least once a week to stock up your kitchen and your pantry. I tend to have to go to the store twice a week because we always run out of fresh produce before the week is up. But if you're single or if there's only 2 of you in the house, you might not need to do that. Once a week might be enough. Just make sure it's in your schedule, right? It's like non-negotiable time so that it actually happens each week and it becomes part of your routine. Of course, please stick to your list. I know how tempting it is when you get to the store and you see all these other treats and snacks and things that look delicious. The problem though is, as you know, if it's in your house, it's going to be so much harder to resist. So you really want to try to keep your home a healthy sanctuary, right? Where it's only good, healthy choices. And if you really are craving that candy or that ice cream or whatever it is, it's not in the house. You're going to have to actually get in the car and drive to the store to go buy it. It doesn't mean you might not do that. You might some days, but it's going to be so much harder for you to do that you might just say, I don't want to leave the house and I'm just going to have a piece of fruit or whatever else you have on hand. Okay. So really commit to that. Keep your home a healthy sanctuary. All right. Finally, you go to the store, you come back, you stock your kitchen with all these beautiful, healthy food, and now you got to get cooking. And I would really suggest that you get in the habit of doing some prep and even maybe some batch cooking ahead of time when you have the time, so that again, you make your week as simple and as easy and as quick as possible. You know, even if it's just like when we get home, for example, from the store, I get the lettuce washed. I might like prep the radishes or prep some of the veggies so that it's ready to go, right? I might even do a little bit of roasted veggies or bake the sweet potatoes or whatever like takes a little bit of extra time. I might do that ahead of time and then just put it in the fridge. That way it's ready to go when I need it and I don't have to spend the time cooking it during the week. There's, again, no one right way to do this. You do what's going to work best for you. But I do think that prepping at least some of it ahead is a good idea. And get the family involved. This is just does not have to be all on you, right? So your partner, your kids, whoever's around, get them to help out. It should absolutely be a family affair. Then everyone is more invested, right, in eating healthy and enjoying the meals. So please don't feel like you have to shoulder this burden all by yourself. Unless you're living on your own, then you've got to do it all. But if you're not, then pull in people to help you and really make it a family affair. Okay? All right. So let's just review everything we talked about here for a minute. All right. So your tasks for this week. Number 1, you're going to sit down, you're going to make a list of all your current favorite meals, you and your family's favorite meals, and you're going to categorize them by protein. Okay, so you kind of have a foundational place of where you're starting. Where do you have any holes? Like, you know, how many options do you actually have to play with? Then you're going to start gathering up some new ideas. And this is, of course, going to be an ongoing process, right? I'm constantly sort of looking for new ideas and knowing that I'm not going to try them right away, but I have kind of a list of recipes on hand that I know I want to try at some point. You're going to commit, though, to trying at least 2 new recipes every month so that you're gradually adding more options to your repertoire, okay? Then you're going to plan out your week. You're going to get to the store. You're going to stock your kitchen with only healthy options, healthy treats only, and you're going to get cooking. And remember, like I said before, really honor this time. This is just as important as anything else you do during the week, okay? And I think once you prioritize that, then it becomes non-negotiable. It is part of your routine. It's part of your time map. It will happen, right? So as long as it's a non-negotiable, I have no doubt that it will happen each week and it won't slip by. The other thing is if you are still testing foods, then you're going to go ahead and move on to the next food to test this week. And you're going to keep doing that, right? Week by week until you get through all your foods and you have a better sense of how your body reacts to each of those foods, which then gives you the information of what your long-term plan should be. please, please, please get on Facebook and share. I feel like a lot of you are doing that much more often, so I appreciate that. Thank you. And regardless of where you are in your journey with this program, you might not be at meal planning yet. Wherever you are, share. Share how it's going. Share what's working for you, share what's not working for you, because that's really where we're going to gather the most ideas and support to keep everybody moving forward. All right, next week, we are going to wrap up our program, or at least this phase of the program, and we're going to discuss what your next steps are. So I don't want you to start worrying about that yet, okay? I want you to just keep focusing on what your task is for this week, whether it's meal planning or one of the other weeks. I want you to just put one foot in front of the other, right? Plan out your food, get to the store, and we're going to worry about what comes next weekend, all right? That's all I've got for you guys today. I wish you lots of yummy, healthy meals. Please share too if you come across some really great recipes or whatever your family favorites are. Please share in the Facebook group. I bet others would love to start adding them into their repertoire too. And even if just all of us shared one, like our favorite meal, imagine how many more ideas we could generate just between the 9 of us. So have a wonderful week, and I will see you all in the Facebook group and next weekend. Bye, everyone.